How have you gone from a great fighter to someone that is looking like you're basically a superhero?
Superhero, wow, that's something to live up to.
Is strength conditioning been a major key component to your boxing game since we've done the first podcast?
I've definitely been adding more strength aspects into my game. I feel like I've always been naturally strong, and sometimes it's just actually communicating that in the ring and feeling comfortable in different positions in the ring to be able to express it.
Eubank is a surname that resonates throughout the whole boxing community. Harlem Eubank is an undefeated fighter with a record of 17-0. We invite him over to Woodbury House Private Art Gallery in Mayfair for a podcast part 2. We talk all things overcoming the loss of loved ones, Sebastian, his cousin, and also the plans he's got in the boxing division and how he's going to become world champion. Be happy, never content, and make sure you subscribe. Right, welcome back to the podcast, Stephen Sully's Study. I have a part 2 with a friend and someone that I truly admire, someone I truly respect, and someone that I believe is going to go all the way. Mr. Harlem Eubank, welcome to Woodbury House's new gallery in Mayfair, and welcome for a part 2.
Thanks very much. It's good to be back. I was just saying it's been almost 2.5 years since the first one we done, so it's great to come back and see the new gallery studio you have. It's a great space, and yeah, it looks like you're doing good things, man. Yeah,
gave you a little presentation upstairs along with Abbas about Richard Hamilton, Black the Rat, Defa Retna. Which of the artists resonates with you the most?
I like the Richard Hamilton stuff. Things painted on the street that have kind of an impact or culturally and get a reaction out of people. It's pretty impactful art, and I like street art in general because it sends a deeper message, about things going on in the world a lot of the time, and how people feel, how people on the street feel, from the bottom up. So
yeah,
it's street art's powerful. So it's great to see all the different street artists you have here.
Yeah. When we were trying to put this podcast part 2 in, I mentioned to you that I caught up with your latest fight against, I want to pronounce his name right, Miguel Antin. Yeah?
Yeah.
You're now 17-0. When I first interviewed you, which was January 2021, you were unbeaten, but you were obviously going through the motions of learning and developing. And look, I have to say, like, what I saw in that performance, look, listen, I'm no boxing expert, but Jesus, vicious, fast, like precise. It just, you do seem like you're going to be an unstoppable force, mate. What do you think that's down to? Like, how have you gone from a great fighter to someone that is looking like you're basically a superhero?
Superhero, wow, that's something to live up to. I think perseverance from the beginning. There was a lot of points. I beat good opposition and I couldn't get fights, and I think just perseverance. For times when it wasn't working out, I had faith that continue and that the path will be opened up, and I'm grateful that it has. And I think I'm going to continue to make noise and make my mark on the sport and continue to progress, and that's my mindset. I think it's just staying dedicated to why I set out to do it, and things don't come overnight, but I think with perseverance and hard work and dedication, I think everything works out how it's meant to. So I'm gonna keep progressing and fulfill that superhero potential that you speak of.
There was a point a couple of times in the fight where you were close, as in together, and you turned him and you made it look so easy. I think there was one point where you turned him and you didn't intend to throw him on the floor, but he ended up on the floor. Yeah. And that was one of the things that I noticed, like your strength, it appears to become, you've become a lot stronger physically. I think since our first podcast, is strength conditioning been a major key component to your boxing game since we've done the first podcast?
I've definitely been adding more strength aspects into my game. I feel like I've always been naturally strong, and sometimes it's just actually communicating that in the ring and feeling comfortable in different positions in the ring to be able to express it. And I just think gradually, as I continue down the path to becoming the fighter I want to be, I think I'm just going to express more and more of that. But I feel like I've always naturally had that component, but now I'm expressing it more, and I believe, throughout the years to come, I'm gonna continue to express that even more. So like, I don't even feel like I'm showing my strength at the moment. I feel like there's still a lot more to see.
Yep. When he landed on the floor, I sort of laughed to myself and I thought, I want to ask Harlem this. Was that the karate coming out in your boxing there for a moment?
I think the martial artist, the kung fu, that inspired me when I was a little kid. The movies I watched, I feel like that's in me, So potentially the martial arts presenting itself in the ring.
I've heard from Trish Dixon's podcast and a few other interviews that you've done, and even your stances with a lot of, even after you fight and when you get in the ring and when the media are taking photos of you, you have not a typical stance like a boxer would do. You're more like a kung fu kind of that kind of energy. The only other person I really see doing stuff like that is Michael Venom Page. He does a little bit like that. So Bruce Lee was a huge inspiration when you were a young kid, am I right?
Definitely. I loved watching Bruce Lee films and and even Jackie Chan films and seeing all the stuff that they're doing and trying to replicate it, and that edged me into going into martial arts early as a kid, and the discipline, the philosophy of it, everything about it just resonates with me, and it's a big inspiration and kind of starting point in my life of combat. And I never, as I said before, I never really thought I would go down the boxing route, because it's been done to the highest level by my family that I look up to, and to try and replicate that is near impossible. So it's boxing found me at a late age, 18, and I've been on the path ever since.
Yeah. Do you ever reflect on your karate days, because you were champion when you were younger, and it's all hindsight type of stuff, but becoming world champion as an adult, as a karate professional, or on the journey you are right now, let's say you becoming world champion in multiple weights, what kind of gets you excited the most? What resonates with you the most?
Boxing. That's why I'm here. It's the most difficult practice that I've ever done. It's the most difficult sport. For me, it's the most challenging thing I've ever done, which is why I've stuck with it for so long. I've persevered to try and progress with it, because it's not easy when you walk into a gym, and it's the consequences to every mistake is very it's very present. You make a mistake, you pay for it. It's trying to learn how do I adapt and overcome the challenges in front of me, and that kind of that challenge is what I've continually tried to overcome and to get where I am now, and I'm gonna keep pushing. I think I can go far, so I'm gonna persevere.
I know this is a bit of a silly question, but just I want to get your take on it. You fought people as a karate professional or young amateur, I think at the time, was it?
As in karate. I was from 7 to 11, so very young.
And then obviously boxing and competing at a high level, you know, sparring with probably world champions, former world champions, etc. Who do you think's the ultimate fighter then? A proper thoroughbred boxer, if they were to compete against a karate professional, who's got the edge?
It's no contest for me. I think boxing is one of the realest forms of combat. You know, stand up. Some people might argue that MMA and the UFC is as well, and I understand that argument. But in terms of physical power and you know, stand up, I don't think that the MMA fighters that can't generate the same force that boxers do just because of the stance. You know, you have to prepare for kicks and be more agile on your feet, lift, you know, to block certain kicks coming, and the weight, like the weight transitions, you can't actually apply as much power through a punch as you can in boxing. So I think in terms of the danger aspect and the boxing is a lot more dangerous, I think.
We touched on it last time, but I thought I'd just raise it again. So you were basically a prospect to become a footballer, yeah? Pretty good on the football pitch. Who do you support? What football team?
Brighton Albion.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Okay. So maybe Brighton, or maybe let's say one of the champions at the moment. Let's call it Man City, or you know, the big names in the Premier League. If there was a magic button that you could switch it, you could become that professional footballer, and you're guaranteed to get 250 grand a week playing for the champions, or remain in your current position as a boxer that is heading towards stardom, what would you go for?
So football sounds good. It's easier than boxing, but I think I'm meant to be here. You know, my path, all the things that have happened in my life have led me to this point, into this sport. So, you know, I've embraced that, and I know I'm here for a reason. So I don't think that I'd rather be in another position than I am now, because this is this is where I've been guided. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to where I'm heading.
Yeah. I've watched a few of your interviews, obviously got to know you over the years, and would you say you're quite spiritual? Would you say you're quite superstitious? Do you have a faith? Are you religious? How would you define yourself?
I'm not superstitious. I have a strong faith in the Creator, I believe I have faith in Him, and you know, I believe that that gives me strength and guidance, and I trust Him to lay out the path ahead of me. And I think I trust in the way that that's going, and I've always had faith that, you know, he'll lay out the correct path for me to take. So I think that faith is definitely a major factor in my mindset and how I go about everything, and how I made it here today. What I like about that mindset is you can kind of let go of like what's going to happen, because you not rely, but like whatever's meant to be is meant to be. And what I wish I had more of that, because sometimes I get too fixated on what I'm trying to do, and it can kind of stress you out and get you a bit frustrated and not being present. And I always like speaking to people with that kind of mindset, that kind of spiritual kind of view on life, because I think ultimately that's how you remain happier. I sometimes think that when you try and manipulate the future too much, then that's what's going to lead you to maybe sometimes failure, upset, or disappointment. 100%. There's a lot of there's a lot of kind of self-help things around now, which is all about like positive speaking and things like that, and creating your own reality and them type of things, which, you know, in the physical realm that we're in, I think it does have an effect. But at the same time, if you put responsibility on yourself like that, then you're responsible for everything. And I think that is the I can't see how that can be healthy, because there's things that happen that are out of our control. And if you have faith, then you have an awareness that, you know, maybe it was meant to happen like that for a reason that you're not aware of. And if you put too much responsibility that you can control everything, it's going to be a hard path to walk.
Definitely. On the note of what you just said, and also the spiritual kind of talk, I do want to go into probably the part that I'm actually a little bit sort of nervous talking about. And I want to say this to you. At this point, if you turn around to me and say, I don't want to talk about the subject, I would just pivot on and talk. Part of the reason why I want to mention it is because I interviewed him. I interviewed him a few months before I interviewed you. And looking down my list of podcast guests, I've had some incredible people on, but they're all still with us today, and he's the only one that is not. And it makes me feel really weird. Like, I've listened back to the podcast and I'm like, it's so weird that I've interviewed someone that is no longer here. And it really sometimes kind of like messes with my mind. So, March 2023, Mal Line said this on the 30th. I always feel his energy close to me when I get into the ring. Harlem Eubank on coping with the death of Sebastian and turbulent period for his famous family. Tell me more about that. Do you feel an energy, a presence when you get into the ring? Do you feel that Seb is looking over you?
100%. He was always my biggest supporter, really. You know, the person that really would push you and could see talent and wanted to maximize it, and he wanted everyone to be the best version of themselves. And if he saw that talent in you, he nurtured it. And that's what he done for me. And he was very close to me as one of my biggest role models. You know, and I knew he had that type of spirit, that type of connection, where I could almost follow anything that he told me. I knew it was advice that would take me to a better place, that would take me on the right path. And I had that kind of I could have that type of blind faith in him, you know, which is very rare. He was very close to me and always, you know, pushed me in boxing and outside of boxing to be the best version of myself. And whenever I'm fighting, I think that fighting is a very spiritual experience in itself. You know, you fast before you weigh in, and then you're preparing for battle. So I think around fight times, you sense subtle energies and subtle things and feelings and emotions. So I feel like fight time, you know, when you're preparing for battle, I definitely I feel him looking over me, and I feel that strength.
And obviously, you know, I interviewed him on 14th of October 2020. Well, that's at least when it came out on my podcast, and then, you know, a few months later, you and I were speaking. I mean, since his passing, you and your family, the whole entire family, it goes without question, it's a really, really difficult time. But my thing is, was it a bit of a roadblock? Like, did you think it was going to affect your boxing, your profession, or actually did it spur you on?
I think, you know, around the time it happened, I wasn't even thinking about boxing, and that was the last thing on my mind. And obviously had to take some time out from the gym, which is foreign to me. You know, I'm always in the gym, so you know, even my gym mates were could see that I wasn't right even when I went back. You know, my close friends were like, you don't seem yourself. So I think it obviously stays with you, and you're just trying to process it. And whether it motivates you or demotivates you in a sport like boxing is irrelevant at the time. It's got nothing to do with how you're feeling. I think as you continue to process it, and it does, like, having memories back of the things that he would say to me about boxing and about life, them memories do motivate me, because I know what he would have wanted me to do. I know how happy he would be in certain points in my boxing career and life, and I know that we would be the one, he'd be the first one that I would call to celebrate certain moments with. So yeah, it's difficult in that regard, but the memory of conversations we've had, just how I know he would speak to me and spur me on, that motivates me to keep going.
He I mean, like, I remember before I interviewed him, I mean, this is what Charlie Beat said to me. He said Seb is basically like Harlem's brother. Yeah. Like they're cousins, but he's actually like an older brother to him.
Yeah.
And when I started looking at the content and stuff, I could see there was a clear kind of connection between you two, like a brotherly connection, and it was fantastic. A bit like a mentor, And what I admired about him, he always seemed like he was giving back, teaching people the alkaline and venturing into new territories. Obviously, boxing, MMA, providing superfoods and teaching people about CMOS. And I even bought a load of products off him, and he was educating me on certain aspects. Then he was doing his like freestyle dancing. The guy appeared to do it all, and that's why it came to a shock to me. I think I even messaged you. I was like, how is someone like that just suddenly passed from like a heart attack? It just almost didn't make any sense to me.
He's the most talented person, across anything he wanted to do, really, that I've ever seen. Multiple talents in loads of different fields, just naturally talented. No real kind of application to get that level of talent. Just talented in anything he wanted to do, artistically, creatively. It's one of the things, where it's out of your hands. Some things, they're out of your control. And if you don't have that faith in a higher being, in the Creator, in God, if you don't offset that responsibility, that you can't control everything, and some things happen that are unexplainable to you. Like Seb he was one of the healthiest people I knew, physically healthy, nutritionally, loved to help people, like you said, with nutrition and health, and make people better and make people the best version of themselves, like I said. And his favorite quote was inspired to inspire. He loved to inspire people and help people, and that's the character he was, that's the spirit he had. And I know energy doesn't die, so I know he's still up there, and that gives me strength. I know he's looking down, and I know the conversations that I would be having with him if he was still in this physical experience that we're still in, but maybe he's surpassed that, and that's why we don't know. It's not in our control. So maybe once you complete this realm, you elevate to the next, and maybe he done that earlier than the rest of us.
Maybe. Raheem, his son, do you see him quite a bit?
Yeah, so Raheem's my godson as well. I love going over to the Middle East to see them and spend time with them. And again, that when I'm feeling low, and that charges me up. He's left a beautiful legacy in his son, and I'm happy to be a part of that as well.
Do you ever look at Raheem and can see elements of Sebastian in him?
Definitely. Sometimes it's like, a mirror. They're so similar. Sometimes it's like he left his twin, and some of the mannerisms and facial expressions. It's like it looks like Seb when I'm looking at him. Beautiful legacy.
I want to say this one last thing about this whole subject, and it's something that I've spoke about so many times internally to myself, but also to fighters. I think you actually said this, and I think I pulled it from somewhere. It said, boxers are drilled not to show pain or emotion, but does that lead... So that's what you said, and then I've written down here, does that lead to mental health issues? Because I remember, obviously, I've known Charlie for a long time, and he was my trainer at the low level. I was doing that, and it always rings in my mind when I've done sparring sessions and I've been clipped, or he's pushing me really, really hard. No, do not show emotion, do not show emotion. And that is absolutely 100% the right advice when you're fighting. But the problem is, as a fighter, you take that into real life. And that is still quite good in certain scenarios. But other scenarios, it probably can lead to, I don't know, maybe mental health issues. What would you say on that note?
I think, physical pain, not showing, I think not reacting to physical pain and trying to hide kind of emotional, it can be two different things, I think. Some people are more resistant to the emotional triggers, and some people can be more no to the physical. And I think it's about balance. Life's about balance. So I think if you can learn how to be less reactive to physical pain, it can help you, I think, in a lot of different scenarios, especially in a sport like boxing, where you're going into the fire, where anything can happen. Outside of that, I think it can help a lot in certain scenarios, but then, emotionally, I think in some aspects you need to open up as well. But I think there's many different aspects to it. I know, raised by Jamaicans, you're not, I don't think you're not taught to open up emotionally. And so but I think there's, different cultures, I think different things work. I don't think there's a magic kind of this way works for everyone. I think you find what works for you and try and adapt what doesn't as well. So like I said, I don't think there's any magic thing that works for everyone, but I think it can be beneficial to hide pain in a physical sense, or be less reactive to it. Not even necessarily hide it, but just be less affected by things that can go on even in everyday life. If you can kind of remain in a steady state, I think the stresses of the world and things you experience on a day-to-day that can shift your mood, your emotions. I think if you can stay steady, you'll live a much happier life.
Let's flip the conversation back to the boxing. In that same article where they spoke about, obviously getting through this tough time about, the passing of your cousin Sebastian, it goes on to say this: as he sets his sights on the future tear-up with Conor Ben. And it's quite a weird one, because obviously Chris, your cousin, Junior, was meant to be fighting Conor, but you've actually got an appetite to have a fight with him as well. I think I remember Charlie maybe saying to me they were going to try and position it where it was Chris versus Conor, and then maybe you against his brother or something like that, or might I have that slightly twisted somewhere down the line?
I think that's how the media kind of position it, but it's it's not realistic. You know, well, last time after I checked, I was third, number 3 in the UK box rec. So yeah, I'm up there. I'm in the mix. You know, with the you know, towards the upper echelon of the division. So it's a fight that I would love.
If that was put on the table today, literally Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren or what you're with Wasserman, aren't you?
Yeah.
Walked through these doors and said, I've got a contract here from Conor Ben, you're going to get paid X and it's going to happen in September. Would you take it?
Let's go. Yeah, it's happening for sure. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, like I've said over and over again, it's a fight I would love, fight I'd relish, and a fight I'd be very, very confident in.
Have you ever had sparring with him? Never.
No. I think we both know that, you know, down the line we're gonna meet. So I don't think there's any need to, you know, have sparring or whatever. I think we both know that it's gonna happen at some point in time, whether that's the present time and or further down the line. But you know, I'm happy to run it whenever we can.
Now, quite naturally, any fighter, any fighter, the moment that I've ever asked a fighter about can they beat this person, it's always going to be yes, because that's the fighter instinct. But what do you feel? Why do you feel? Okay, you're going to beat Conor Ben, but what attributes do you think you've got over him?
Boxing. You know, this is the sport of boxing, so I've picked up a skill set over the years, you know, with perseverance and dedication that I believe is superior.
Power, speed, accuracy.
That plays a part as well. He also has some of them attributes, but ultimately, I think, you know, boxing.
Yeah. I mean, do you know what? It'll be one of the best fights, biggest fights ever. In some senses, I'm actually more intrigued about that fight than Chris versus Conor Ben. Your input on that? Quite naturally, Chris is your bloodline, so you're always going to be on the side of the family. But how do you think that fight would have panned out if Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben had fought?
I can't see any way that Chris doesn't, you know, dominate that fight. Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. He
looked like he was just miles bigger than him anyway. And my thing I was saying to people when it was happening is surely he could even just do the basic, which is just long jab and just keep him away.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hope was in draining him down, you know, so that he's not the fighter that he is. But again, there's dangers that come with that. You know, as we see the kind of shape he was in, or you know how he looked after making the weight, which is below his natural weight. Yeah, so I don't think it's a legitimate fight to boil someone down and try and take that advantage over them. It's just boxing. It's a dangerous game, and yeah, I don't think that's right.
Can I get your opinion on and your view on this whole Conor failing the drugs test? I mean, as a pro athlete, and one of your competitors, let's say hypothetically, you were about to fight, it's going to be a massive fight. You know, we had the attention of the whole public and the media, but then they got found out they were doing sports enhancing things. Should it be a lifetime ban, or should there be other repercussions to that?
I think the testing needs to be so legitimate that if someone fails, you know, they shouldn't be allowed to box again. But then, you know, is there holes in the testing? Then, you know, you're seeing all these debates. You know, maybe the testing needs to be worked on so that there is no doubt and people can't play around with these substances, because this is a serious game and people can get hurt, as we've we've seen it over and over again in this game. So yeah, it's hard to comment because, you know, once the substance is found in someone's system, what can you say? But the testing needs to be positioned so that if someone's found with one of these substances, there's no doubt about it that they have taken drugs and they should be banned for life.
I mean, I've heard fighters say it time and time again. You know, it's all well and good, people getting banned, and sometimes people make a bit of a joke and a song and dance about it. But the reality is, if you're hitting slightly harder due to these substances, you can actually probably kill someone. And have you ever thought about like someone getting through with a dodgy pass, health test pass or whatever, and they've got into the ring and they're actually on substances? Have you ever thought about, you know, you could be in the firing line and someone can have an unfair advantage over you?
It's scary, especially when you hear more and more of these accounts coming out, because I could never even think about taking something that gives you an unfair advantage in this sport, with the present danger that there is. But as a fighter going in there, you have to eliminate these type of things from your mind, because if you're having these type of doubts, it's not gonna bode well for your performance or your mental state going into a fight. But with more and more accounts coming out, it's scary.
Because it's almost like certain camps, certain fighters, certain organisations around the world, they kind of know how to do the drugs now, but to disguise it. Because there's like disguises you can take now, right?
Yeah.
So when you go and test for it, it doesn't show up. And then what they're now doing is testing for the disguises, and it's just a never-ending kind of carousel of cover-ups and stuff. I remember Mike Tyson. I mean, love him or hate him, the guy, I think he's amazing because of how honest he is. And he would just like, I was on it. Everyone was on it. It was just like he used to have a fake penis which he used to fill up with urine, and he used to squeeze it, and then obviously the urine would come out and it was someone else's urine, and
really,
yeah, I've watched and listened to some.
I haven't heard him talk about it like that.
Yeah. But he said that back in the day it was more of a culture of doing it. Now, and the kind of people knew, but now it's done a lot more underhanded. You know, it's like disguised a lot more.
I think, you know, it has to be eradicated from the sport. It hasn't got any place in the sport of boxing, and the testing has to be done in a way where if someone's caught, there's no doubt that they've put these substances into the body. Yeah, that's, you know, a lot of people are talking about the testing, but are they investing in making sure, you know, in facilitating better testing? And, you know, these are the things people got to look at. I know, you know, I'm hearing it costs a lot more to have proper testing, but if people are serious about the sport, then you have to make it work. So Chris Eubank, went on to fight Liam Smith, and I had him winning and quite comfortably controlling that fight until he obviously got knocked down. Did you ever speak to him after that fight and kind of like assess what went wrong there? Because I totally believe, and I'm not just saying it, I honestly do, if they had the rematch, he should, because of his skill set, because of his strength, because of his chin, he should just not glide through it. I'm not saying that, but I think he has all the attributes to kind of comfortably win that, in my opinion. Yeah, I think he has. I think in terms of talking about the fight, I don't think he'll never give too much away. He's not an emotional character, or he likes to keep his cards close to his chest. But just from seeing and being around him, and I just don't think he thought of Liam Smith as a threat. And Liam Smith's a great fighter, and I think after the Conor thing as well, I saw him preparing for the Conor fight, and he was preparing very well, like he normally does, and he was going through the proper preparation for that fight. I think after the fallout of that, then having a more difficult challenge and having to maybe stay at that intensity, I think it's difficult. I think it was a difficult task to train for a harder fight after you've been preparing like that for a fight already. So I think that there was multiple things that played into that. But I think with the a fresh kind of camp and a proper preparation, I think he's got all the tools to make amends in the second fight.
Yeah, I do. Are they? Is it all confirmed? Because I know he's exercised the rematch clause.
Yeah, he's exercised the rematch clause. They announced the date. Then the date was pushed back. I think Liam Smith suffered an injury in training. Now we're waiting for, I think, the official date. Or we're waiting to kind of hear what's happening with it. But it's a fight I'm looking forward to. Yeah,
me too. Chris Eubank Senior, he's obviously made his comments about the Conor Ben scenario and then probably stuff after Liam Smith fight. I'm not expecting you to tell me all like personal stuff, but away from camera, away from PR, away from the media, is there any kind of views that he had on both of those scenarios, Conor Ben and also the Liam Smith defeat?
I think with the Conor Ben fight, again, it was the weight. He didn't agree with the the fighting below his normal weight. He knows firsthand the dangers of the sport. He's seen it, he's tasted it. He's been in there with these guys, and he knows how it works. To go below your natural weight can be very, very dangerous, and he was aware of that, and he thought there was no need to do that.
Yeah.
And on reflection, a lot of the things he was saying came to be true in the aftermath. So it's interesting to see it play out, but yeah, I think with that one, it was more the weight and the risks that he knew came with that. Risks that maybe fans and people outside of the sport aren't aware of, but as a fighter who went through it and saw the punishment and long lasting damage that can be suffered in the sport, that's the experience he was speaking from.
Yeah.
With the Smith fight, I think he just, like he said, I think he came out and tweeted after, great performance. He's never seen Chris Eubank Jr. like that. So congratulations to Liam Smith. I think he knew that wasn't the best version of Chris in there, and that maybe the preparation wasn't as it could have been. But that's all things that can be amended and will be amended for the second fight.
I didn't realise this until I was doing my research. So Frank Smith, who promotes Conor Ben, is the boyfriend of Emily Eubank.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the right word is conflict of interest, but it's quite a weird dynamic, that.
Probably would have been quite awkward for him in the build up to that fight. I think he'd done a few podcasts and interviews where he said, he wasn't picking a winner and he's just gonna sit and enjoy the event. But I'm sure he's had a couple of awkward dinners.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about a bit of a conflict of interest, you had Liam I forgot his surname.
Williams.
In at Boxing Booth. Obviously, you fight under Charlie B, Adam Booth, with some incredible fighters, and he was over there preparing for the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. I watched one of your interviews, and someone said, "Oh, isn't it hard? Like you've got someone in your training in your stable, but then also you got your cousin who is fighting him." And your answer was a perfect one, which was, it's not a hard choice. It's my family. Family always comes first. But I resonate with that. But was it quite weird, like being in the boxing gym, knowing that this guy is about to fight Chris? And there were some words said building up to the fight. Like Liam Williams was at some points perceived as being quite disrespectful. But a fighter is a fighter, and they're just there to, you're there to sell the fight, and also there's a lot of emotion that is going around. So how was that with Liam Williams in your stable when he was about to fight your cousin Chris Eubank Jr.?
Very awkward, but obviously had to just focus on myself and my path, and I had a fight coming up as well. I was fighting on the undercard, so it was just maintaining focus really, and making different training times, and trying to kind of steer clear of that atmosphere, which I was put in. So it's like I just had to make it work, and like I said, it was a no-brainer for me that obviously I was supporting Chris, and I made that vocal all throughout. And yes, on reflection, it's a very, very weird setup. I think a lot of the stuff Williams was saying is tongue-in-cheek, in the sense that I think it was more, promotional, and it's an odd scenario to be in. But yes, I mean, like, did you ever? Because I've seen since the fight, he's put you on his social media. He's credited you. He admires you, and it just seems like there's more of a friendship there now, a little bit. I think. But at the time when you're walking past him in the gym, was there any words that were said to each other? Was there any kind of weird looks? No, I mean, he knew I'm supporting Chris. That was made vocal, but I'm my own character. I don't not get on with him. I think there's a lot of elements to him that are kind of that aren't seen. In the media, I think he comes across as more like a rough, tough. Whereas I think when you're in someone's vicinity, you can see there's a lot of softer elements to someone, and I don't think we did not get on at all. It was just an odd scenario to be in, because it's like your gym mates are people you get on with a lot of the time. You see the things you see the hard work behind the scenes, you see struggles and triumph, and a whole element of a multitude of different emotions and characteristics. So you become quite close to people in the gym. I had to separate that. I had to put my own barriers in there to make sure that wasn't the case before the fight. So it was just a case of that really. But yeah, like I say, an odd scenario to be in. But yeah. Did Adam Booth as well? I'm just trying to be a fly on the wall. Like, did he say, "Oh, Harlem, by the way, I've just signed a new fighter, and it's Liam Williams"? Like, what was when you heard that news? Was like, was you a bit lost for words? I think. He put it to me. That he was thinking about training him, and it's what anyone does is not for me to say. It's everything. I said it's it's fine. It's business. Yeah, it's business. It's someone I wouldn't take money out of anyone's pocket. It's everyone has the opportunity to do whatever to go whichever way they want to go. Yeah. And that was the communication. So yeah, it was just a case of focusing on myself and making sure that I'm progressing, I'm developing, and that's what I continue to do, and focusing on my work, and that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know these two are not your promoters, but Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn, who is the better boxing promoter?
I think Eddie's, you'd have to say Eddie's at the top right now, but boxing is always changing, The landscape's always changing, and one person could be on top today, another person could be on top tomorrow, but yeah, they're both putting on good shows, but I think you'd have to say that Eddie's at the top right now.
Mm. So you're with Wasserman. Why didn't you sign with a Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn? Why did you go with the boxing promoter Wasserman?
I mean, I like the Sauerland brothers as well. They saw the talent in me. They saw the potential, and they had the vision. And they've got a great track record of developing fighters and guiding them through their careers. So I think it was a great choice, and they've been getting me the fights, the activity that I need to progress. On reflection, it was the right choice.
Did you ever have the conversations with the Frank Warrens, Eddie Hearn? Did they ever approach you?
I don't know if there's been brief back and forths, I think, I think Adam deals with that more so. So Adam, deals with the management side of things. So a lot of the time, I won't see that stuff. But, and Charlie, obviously, we've been working together on the coaching for a long time now, since, close to the beginning, really. So we've been getting our work in on a day-to-day basis, developing things, and kind of let Adam handle the management side of things. So a lot of that stuff, I'm not exactly sure about what communications went on with the others, but I know that the Sauerland brothers and Wasserman showed the belief at a point where I didn't have fights lined up, and I've showed them what I can do and where I'm heading in the sport.
So I would say boxing has, I wouldn't say changed, but there's been new elements that have really been bolted on to the sport. You've obviously got a bouncer down the boxing booth gym, who's not a pro, but he's pioneered and blazed his own trail with, I guess you call them influencers, who are fighting each other, and he's obviously got his own brand, which is called, it now escapes my mind, and
Wicked and Bad,
which appears to be doing really well.
Yeah.
And then you've obviously got the YouTube boxing, etc., the likes of KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, etc. The most recent one that I saw was KSI against Joe Fournier. Joe's been on my podcast, and I know Joe, and obviously formerly done the Haymaker, etc. And I wouldn't say he's like a thoroughbred boxer. Got into it quite late, but for a latecomer, it's actually done okay. I think he was at one stage ranked top 10 in the world by one of the bodies. And I just assumed he was going to iron out KSI. I really did. I've got to be honest. I know age is going to play a little part in it because he's now obviously getting on a bit, and KSI is young, and he's looking really, really fit, and he's looked like he improved. But I've got to be honest. I would say this to Joe Fournier to his face. I was actually really, really disappointed in his performance. I know he got disqualified because of the elbow, but even up until that point, he didn't look like he just comfortable in there. Didn't look like a proper boxer. He just looked a little bit nervous. What was your take on the KSI Joe Fournier fight?
I got to see it live because we went to the Misfits event. It was entertaining show, actually. All the walkouts and kind of the show around it. The the music, the people getting rapped out, people doing certain dances. It's very kind of, it's great showmanship. It's real entertainment. And then obviously the fights, you can see they're novice level. But then after that, the celebrations are crazy, and so it's very much entertainment. And I'd never seen Joe Fournier fight before, professionally, so I didn't really know how it was going to go. I didn't really have any preconceptions. I don't know how he was training. I don't know if he's a full-time professional boxer or he's got other things going on. So yeah, I had no idea or no predictions for that. But yeah, I'm still not sure is he a fully fledged professional boxer. I'm not sure.
Talking about these type of fights, you were present for our good friend Aaron Chalmers and Floyd Mayweather, which was, when because originally he was meant to be fighting that Liam, who was a Thai fighter.
Oh yeah, and Berto.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
and he obviously got injured. That would have been quite a good fight, actually.
Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, he's quite aggressive, old Liam. And then obviously suddenly Aaron got in there, and I was super, super happy for him because there was obviously been some challenges he's had in his own personal life, and he just seemed like this was the thing to get him back on track. Go into that fight. He really held his own, I felt. Look, Mayweather is Mayweather, but I looked at that fight, watched that fight live, and I was like, not there, but on TV, and I was like, he's done himself proud. He really, really has done himself proud. What was that like, going to the Floyd Mayweather against Aaron Chalmers?
It was crazy, yeah, great experience to be a part of. It's a great show, and again, it's entertainment. Aaron's had one fight. You can't expect him to go in there and do anything crazy, but he went in there and he stayed the distance with Floyd Mayweather. What an achievement that is! Something to tell the grandkids.
Yeah.
So it was surreal to see Floyd Mayweather in person as well. Some of the stuff he was doing, you could just see how clever, how smart he was, and to see him next to me as well, and see, he's not much bigger than me. Like, you see these people do great stuff, and you assume they're a superhero, and you kind of see that have that realization. A man the same size as me achieved all that he achieved. Inspiring to see him in the flesh, and and have that kind of experience of being up close and sharing a few words.
Yeah, I would get interesting to get your take actually on it, being a pro fighter and actually being there live, and also maybe hearing it from Aaron. When I've seen interviews with Andre Berto, or I don't know, not so Manny Pacquiao, but like people that have fought Mayweather, like Canelo Alvarez, for example,
I see the Andre Berto.
Yeah, they all say the same thing. He's super smart in the ring, and it's that smartness that wins him the fights. So, what did you notice, like being up and close? Being up and close to the action, like certain moves, his IQ. What about Floyd Mayweather kind of stood out when he was fighting Aaron Chalmers?
I think just timing and creativity. Like he was playing. You can tell the level he's been to is just. He was just having fun in there and doing things that were very creative, and his timing was just there. Like you can see how easy it is. He's not overreaching. He's not doing anything like that. It's just precise, sharp with his shots, and the timing's just impeccable. Yeah.
So next few chapters for you, Harlem. Obviously 17-0. Pushing on, obviously world titles is the focus. What is going to be next?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm excited to keep developing and go through, bigger and better opposition each time. Hopefully titles. I think I'm ready for titles. So it's still to be confirmed. Got a date proposed for July, so I'm waiting to see what's next there. And then through the year, I think it's three fights left this year, so I'm hoping to have a busy finish to the year, fight regularly through summer and into winter and go through the gears. I'm ready. I've had a lot of learning fights, and I'm ready to make an impact in the division.
And kind of the final thing about your stable, you obviously got the likes of Abbas, you have Mick Conor, you have Josh Kelly there, you have a bunch of really, really good fighters, Shannon Courtney obviously. And since our podcast, Josh Kelly has won the British title. Great performance that was. Mick has had a couple of really, really, really big high-profile fights. One of them, I thought he was going to win when he knocked the guy down, and then obviously he got stopped right towards the end of the fight, which I was gutted for him. He just looked exhausted. And the more recent one he had over in Belfast against Lopez, is it? Seeing your friends, stablemates performing at a high level, winning belts, and maybe not always winning, but they're winning because they're pushing their own profile, and they're pushing themselves as athletes, and they're going for these big titles and world title fights and risking everything basically. How does that affect you as an athlete? How does that rub off on you? How's that radiate into your game?
It motivates me. See Josh win the British title in the fashion he did was great performance. Again, that energy just exudes through the gym, and seeing Mick challenge at the highest level. Again, we've seen what he can do, and we know that he will win a world title.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And sometimes these fights are just the preparation for one down the line. And I said, sometimes you gotta have that faith that we talk about, where it's, you don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to come. And to stay on the path and know that when it's meant to be, it will happen. I think Mick's had to have a lot of that, and he's challenging the top guys, the guys that are the elite of the elite, best of the best. And I know his time will come. So it's hard because you feel them moments yourself, like it's you in the ring. So but no, I just I have faith that he will achieve all the things that are destined for him, and I think he'll be a world champion.
Yeah. One more thing, mate. Your knuckle. I've seen you on social media in the boxing booth gym. There's a wooden plank with Chinese writing on it, which has got like a leather kind of pad, but not a pad, and it's split. And as you hit it in a certain way, it makes that kind of ching, it sort of clacks together. And I've got one indoors because after that, I got Charlie ordered me one, and he actually installed it for me. I got a little boxing setup. I got a speed bag, got a heavy bag, got a water bag, and I've got that. And I don't do it that frequently because I forget sometimes, and also just bloody hurts. Is that what you're doing? You're purposely damaging the knuckle to rebuild it so it comes back stronger, bigger, better, and just more bloody aggressive?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Tell me, so like for the benefit of the audience, what am I talking about, and what is the whole thing behind that?
I think it's called, sometimes I get confused with the spelling, but I think it's a makiwara board. And it's a martial arts tool.
Can we see that knuckle? Is that what that's from?
Yes, that's a part of it. You know, to combine with punching the bag and other stuff like that.
Because that knuckle is like much bigger than your left.
Yeah, it's a real weapon.
It's like a knuckle duster.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. So it's just like a big callus.
And have you seen it
knuckle
literally get bigger over time?
Yes, I mean it's when you're punching every day, it's hard to heal up. So, who knows? Maybe after boxing it will heal. But for now, it's a little tool that isn't too bad.
Yeah, it's a legal weapon.
Yeah. That's it.
So with that board, is it every day or is it every few days you hit it? And do you
just
hit it as hard as you can, or it's just
you build up the power and intensity how you're hitting it. Sometimes when you feel the pain build up, you give it a few days rest until you feel kind of strong enough to go again. So it's that battle of hitting till it hurts and then letting it rebuild stronger. And then
how many times do you hit it? Like where is it? I'm asking you because I want to get a bit of advice on it. Like how many times should I be?
Maybe like 100 reps, but you got to listen to your body.
100 reps, hit it 100 times.
Yeah, something like that. But listen to your body, see how your hands feel, and don't overdo it, because if you hit it too hard, you might not be able to punch for a little while.
Mate, I thought I was quite impressed with myself doing like 5 or 10 times. 100 times, mate. That takes some going.
You build it up as you go.
Yeah.
You build up the impact and the reps. But it's a nice little tool.
Yeah. Last question. Be happy, never content is my mantra. I asked you this question last time, but I want to know if your answer is different, because now you've developed not just as a fighter, but as a human being. So your experience in life is broadened. Mm-hmm. Be happy, never content. What does that mean to Harlem Eubank?
I can't remember what I said last time, but I think emotions pass. I think happiness is an emotion. I think we're meant to feel happy. I think we're meant to feel sad. I think we're meant to feel angry. I think we're meant to feel every emotion and be in a state where we can let them emotions flow through us and meditate on them and kind of ask yourself why you're feeling that way, how you can get out of that place and the emotions are meant to flow through you. Content, I guess that's a state of being.
So be happy, never content.
Yeah, well, being content is. I like content. You content. You're in a state where you can be happy, but at the same time, you can reflect on other emotions, and I think happiness is a passing emotion that we can try and get to and try and reinforce the things that make us happy. So I would say, we work towards happiness, but there's nothing wrong with the emotions that come with that.
Great answer, great interview, and thank you very much for your time, mate. And I'm really, really honoured that you came back for a part 2, and I really, really appreciate you coming over to the gallery today.
Thanks very much. Great to be here for the second one, and hopefully in a few years we'll do another one.
When you're world champion.
That's it.
Bring the belts. Right. Well, look, be happy, never content. If you've enjoyed the episode, subscribe, share it, do all that great stuff. And thank you once again, Harlem, for your time, mate.